more central areas of the UK, and low pressure's never too far away overnight, so rain will continue to push in across parts of the far northwest. So it remains cloudy and damp for more northwestern areas, clear and dry further south. So it will be another very warm night, temperatures holding up above 20 degrees, possibly for some of us to start the day on Wednesday, which makes for another very hot day on Wednesday. Temperatures are likely to climb towards the mid-30s in the south and east, so a very hot day indeed, likely the hottest day of this week before it cools down for the weekend. Meanwhile, across the north, another pretty damp day, potentially some thundery downpours and temperatures closer to the low 20s and high teens. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. There is a collision on the M27 eastbound between junctions 8 and 9 in Bursledon. The M25 anti-clockwise is affected by a collision between junctions 17 and 16 in Denham. In Scotland, the M80 southbound has 2 lanes restricted between the M80-M8 slip and the M80 main carriageway, causing queues. Across Wales, the A470 southbound from Nantgau to Corriton is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, there is major disruption on Avanti West Coast and Lumo services between Edinburgh, Motherwell and Carlisle. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
Practice Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It's 9:30 on Tuesday, the 28th of July. We are live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Charlie Peters and Miriam Cates.
Well, trades over grades. The Prime Minister tells schools to prioritise technical education as he tries to tackle youth unemployment. Tradies, do you feel valued by the government?
The law has been passed. These offenders, including rapists, child groomers, killers, they are going to start getting out from September unless there is a change to legislation.
The Conservatives are demanding emergency laws to block sex offenders from walking free from prison early. Abuse survivor Jade Belgrove told GB News she wants the Prime Minister to act now.
I pray and plead that he will do the right thing, to be honest. It is completely a matter of right and wrong.
And so I'm pleased the police are investigating. Ultimately, it's up to them how far they take this.
Well, the Green Party leader Zach Polanski has been referred to the Metropolitan Police for sharing an image of a man wearing a T-shirt with a guillotine graphic alongside the caption, "We're only making plans for Nigel."
And breaking news this morning, an emergency tsunami warning has been issued in Japan after a powerful 7.1 earthquake struck the south.
And closer to home, Europe is burning. France and Spain are braced for new heat waves as deadly wildfires close in on Bordeaux.
Yeah, the size of the fire here has been as big as the Isle of Wight. Firefighters desperate to get that under control. We are about 9 miles away from the city of Bordeaux. They do not want this fire getting any closer. This is where they're putting all of their efforts today.
I'm pleased to have kind of made a start where hopefully I've connected with people.
Now we're seeing a Burnham bounce. A new poll puts Labour ahead of Reform for the first time in more than a year.
And there's been a harvest of howlers. A shocking new study has found that 1 in 5 children think that veg grows on supermarket shelves, not in the soil. Veg growing on shelves. What is going on there? Is that a lack of introduction to countryside life?
I think it's too clean. They wash all the dirt off. Potatoes used to be really, really dirty and covered in mud, and now they're all pristine. That's the problem.
I don't know that. I had some pak choy last night. My favourite vegetables were great leafy green, and I'd failed to disassemble, strip, and wash the pak choy, and I found myself sort of munching on dirt in my second bite. That was a bit of a letdown.
Some of the lettuces we bought in France had caterpillars in it, but that's extra protein, really, isn't it? But I do think this is a serious issue. Certainly children... Oh, you know.
I will not eat the
Adds a bit of
bugs. I
crunch.
will not eat the insects.
What, even if they're cooked?
Well, no. There are rules, aren't there, in how many insects you're allowed to eat or what kind you're allowed to eat. And
Probably in Britain, yes.
there was a restaurant in Korea that got in trouble recently for having a Michelin-star restaurant for having ants in a sorbet, and that broke the law on the minimum number of ants and being... Yeah, when a posh
Is this to
chefs do all
preserve the
sorts of
ants, or
silly
is this
stuff.
for health reasons?
I don't know what's going on there.
I
It's
feel
not
we've
my
got
preference.
off topic slightly.
Yeah.
I do think there is a serious issue there. Children brought up in particularly urban areas, not having ever seen where food is produced, whether that's where meat comes from, where vegetables come from. So perhaps this is a good initiative. And even back in Victorian times, they did start taking children to kind of urban farms to teach them where the food came from.
Yes, I can hear our agricultural audience watching and listening to this right now and thinking this is exactly what we've been banging on
So
about
Charlie,
for
you're
years.
going to find out where your pak choy comes from.
Yes. I'll do that, whatever. Whatever you need, yeah, I'll go and head out. And I'll find out when I'm eating my extra caterpillars as well, whatever on earth you were scranning on in Bordeaux. Speaking of Bordeaux, that is quite a dreadful sight there. Will Godley for us down on the scene 9 miles away. I mean, they're describing, aren't they, as the worst disaster for the country since the Second World War. And it's easy to see why.
Absolutely. They've mobilised thousands of firefighters, army, help from other countries. But the problem is the wind and the weather, they just can't predict where the fire is going to go next. Very frighteningly, some industrial sites near Bordeaux with explosive chemicals, they're digging trenches around the sites to try to protect them from fire. But if they were to come, if they were to explode, it could be absolutely catastrophic.
Well, coming up shortly, we're going to have a press conference from the Conservatives about the prisoner early release scheme. On September the 2nd, 6,000 prisoners could be released early, including hundreds of child and adult rapists. It's really horrifying and terrifying stuff for so many victims and survivors, many of them speaking out on GB News this morning. But we're keen on your perspective. gbnews.com/your say. What should the government do there? Should they be building emergency prisons? I'm really surprised there hasn't been more discussion of this. During COVID, we built all those Nightingale hospitals, most of which wasn't used at all. But the same surely could be done again. This is a bit of a national emergency. It needs to be dealt with.
Absolutely. Well, all that's coming up. But first of all, here is your 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Thank you both. A very good morning to you. Just after 9:30, making the news this morning. Children will be given clearer routes into work from the age of 14 under Andy Burnham's plans for a major education shake-up. Head teachers say they support the ambition but need clarity on funding and delivery. The plans come amid concern that more than 1 million young people are not in education, employment or training. Kemi Badenoch is this morning calling on the Prime Minister to bring in emergency legislation to block hundreds of prisoners being released early. It follows a warning from grooming gang survivors that are urging Andy Burnham not to release serious offenders.
This is just another downgrade of survivors' rights, and Andy Burnham needs to take urgent action to make sure that perpetrators of serious sexual offences and violent offences are not released early under this new scheme.
More than 360,000 people have been evacuated as wildfires tear through parts of France and Spain. A major fire near Bordeaux has now been contained, but officials are warning it could flare up again when temperatures rise. Breaking this morning, an emergency tsunami warning has been issued in Japan after a powerful 7.1 earthquake struck the south. Japanese media are warning significant waves are possible in the coming hours. Details on damage and injuries are still emerging. Here, police are conducting inquiries after Reform reported Zach Polanski over an image shared on his Instagram. The picture showed a man wearing a T-shirt with a guillotine and the name Nigel. The Green Party says Mr Polanski immediately unshared the post once it was brought to his attention. But the Conservatives' Kieran Mullen claims the Greens have a track record of inappropriate posts.
There's just this horrible mess of stuff that's coming out of the Green Party, and Zach Polanski is just adding to that.
And cold case detectives are making a final push for answers in the disappearance of Susie Lamplugh 40 years after she vanished in West London. The 25-year-old left her office in Fulham for an appointment with a mysterious Mr Kipper in 1986 and never returned. Those are the latest headlines this half hour. More news at 10.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good morning and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Charlie Peters and Miriam Cates. We're going to go very shortly to this press conference being hosted by Kemi Badenoch, but many of you getting in touch already. gbnews.com/your say is the way to do it if you haven't done it already. And plenty of you reacting to that headline that 1 in 5 children do not know where their vegetables come from. And Vanessa and Michael and many more are saying it's not just children who don't know where food comes from. Plenty of adults don't either.
Absolutely. Well, in Sheffield, where I grew up, which is obviously a big urban area, we did have urban farms so that children at primary schools in the city can find out.
Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative leader, she's speaking in London now.
We want to stop the early release of killers, rapists, paedophiles. We are very concerned that at least 6,500 rapists, killers and paedophiles, that's the minimum number, could be released by the 2nd of September. And I'd like to start off by thanking Vicky, Carol, Sarah, Jade, Kaylee and Marie for being here this morning. This is not an easy thing that you're doing. And I want people to hear your story. I think it's very important that when these things happen, that we focus on the victims rather than the perpetrators. So today is their day. I will just give a few remarks, and then I'm going to hand over to the ladies on the table to tell their story. And I've also got my Shadow Victims Minister, Kieran, here with me, Kieran Mullen, who can talk about some of the detail of what is going on right now. But I would like to start off by saying that we know that the situation with prisons is challenging. When we were in government, we saw the challenge. We created 14,000 new prison places. That was nowhere near enough. We had a prison building target in our manifesto. COVID derailed that program. We'd sold some prisons to get the money to build new ones, but the program, as I said, was derailed. And we also had early release, but not like this. We never had this category of prisoners being released. We never had killers, rapists, paedophiles on early release. That is what I want to stop. And I know the Prime Minister has said that he has paused this programme. It hasn't really been paused. He hasn't done anything at all to pause it. And he says that this is a quick pause. I think he said that on the Laura Kuenssberg show. That is not good enough. If Andy Burnham wants to prove that he is serious about this, he needs to revoke the commencement order. That is a simple action that I'm asking for today. It's quite clear that the Prime Minister sees that this is a problem, but I don't think he knows what to do about it. We have done the work. We know that we need to revoke the commencement order immediately. He could do that today. That would show that he was really pausing it. And then he needs to bring in emergency legislation by the 2nd of September. This can be done. We heard them, the government talk about bringing in emergency legislation for a bank holiday if we won the World Cup. They can do this, and we will be here to help them facilitate that. It does need cooperation from other parties. But I'm very, very concerned that this will be yet another thing where there are warm words, but nothing actually happens. So I am asking that you stop the release of dangerous criminals before the 2nd of September, at least 6,500 of them, that the Labour government and the Prime Minister Andy Burnham should revoke the commencement order now and then work with us for emergency legislation to stop this release before the 2nd of September. I'm now going to allow the ladies to tell their story. And I think I will start on my left-hand side with Kaylee and Marie, if you're ready.
Yeah, so our perpetrator was the same perpetrator. A few years ago, we went to Parliament and it was the Conservative MP that pushed through a legislation that these types of offenders and perpetrators would receive 2/3 of their sentence. So obviously when we received the news that now it's completely reversed and it looks like these offenders will only serve 1/3, not even a half. It was just ridiculous.
Absolutely, yeah.
And as victims as well, we were also told this legislation could not be retrospective, so it wouldn't affect us. But now they're going back and they can do it for perpetrators retrospectively, but not for the victims. And it's just...
It's heart destroying.
Yeah.
Absolutely destroying us as victims, knowing that when you've got that letter come through the door, you know, that there's nothing in place, that we feel there's nothing in place for, you know, these perpetrators that, you know, have committed these serious offences. And, you know, they say, oh, they may be on tag or something like that. You know, is that right? You know, we have no idea as victims. We are scared. You know, it's quite... No, you know, we're just, it's nerve-wracking for us.
I completely understand what this looks like from your perspective. We've had conversations with victims of all sorts of crimes. The grooming gang victims, for example, are also in this category. You have people commit horrific crimes, horrific sexual crimes, and they get let out early, walk past the houses of the victims. In some cases, it's basically thumbing their nose, not just at the justice system, but also at the women whose lives they have ruined. This is something that we want to stop. Do either of you want to talk about the letter that you received before I come on to Carol, because you've got a statement that you'd like to read, don't you?
Yes. Well, I actually received a phone call first to say I would receive the letter. But in the phone call, she just couldn't give me if it was definitely going to happen. There were so many unanswered questions.
Uncertainty. There is lots of uncertainty around the whole thing. They couldn't give us any times, dates, or anything like that. So
exclusion zones.
Exclusion zones. Giving us time to, maybe go back to court for any sort of, putting anything in place so we can be safe, so, my family can be safe. That's what I want to get out here today. It is us as victims. Are we safe? and I don't think we are. So
it's just it's a painful reminder that our fight for our voices, our fight for the justice system, the fight through the court.
Yes,
it's horrific.
It's constant.
And it's constant. And
yeah.
it can be so easily diminished by this government. It's not right.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Carol.
Thank you. Incest is rife in the UK and not enough is being done about it. Only 2%.
So that was a press conference there led by Kemi Badenoch talking to some rape and other sexual abuse survivors who are asking the Prime Minister to permanently end this early release scheme for serious sexual offenders.
It's really important that we'll get a reaction from the Prime Minister to this later. We know that last week there was an indication he would pause this scheme. But here's the problem, Miriam. You can't pause a law that's been voted on and passed already. New legislation is needed. The Conservatives have said they're willing to work with Labour to get that passed. We shall see if the Labour government respond in kind to that offer.
Yes, because the legislation comes into force on the 2nd of September, before Parliament returns. So if they were going to change the law, Parliament would have to be recalled during the recess, which Conservatives have said they'd be willing to do, but that would be a big call for the Prime Minister.
Well, moving on, in the last few minutes, we have heard from the Prime Minister, Andy Burnham. He's been speaking to reporters. Let's take a listen.
I hear wherever I go that young people are often looking for something different from education. We've had a system built for too long around the university route, and it sends a message to some young people that they're some kind of second-class citizens, and it's just not right. They need an education system that works for them as well, that offers a path to all young people, that's balanced between academic and technical. And the evidence is, where countries have an education system based on that principle of parity, Germany or the Netherlands, they have far fewer young people who end up not in education, employment or training. And I think it's long overdue that Britain makes this change, and in England particularly we build an education system that has a path at 14 for all young people, and we strengthen that offer on technical education.
And what about the targets? How will it be measured? And as I said, are you committing to having fewer needs by the next general election?
I am committing today to get the number of young people not in education, employment or training down. Obviously the trend is rising at the moment, so the first thing I've got to do is to stop that rise. So it's kind of hard to say and put a firm date on the moment when you can say there are fewer than now, but certainly I am completely on a mission with relation to this. I cannot accept the situation where we have so many young people in their 20s on benefits. It's just not right for them. And why do we have that? The support just isn't there. You know, it would be wrong to blame the young people when we have an education system that doesn't set them up properly, where some struggle to find opportunities at 16, where work experience and work placements aren't there for them. We've got to put those building blocks in place, and then in time that number will come down. And I will commit in my time in office to get the number of young people who are not in education, employment or training down. I will commit to that. When precisely I can get there is a hard thing to say right now.
There have been nearly 900 small boat arrivals over the last week, but you have yet to mention the small boat crisis since you came to power. Do you acknowledge that some of those small boats may represent a threat to national security? Do you have a plan to tackle the small boat crisis?
The Home Secretary has brought forward a very rigorous plan in relation to this, and let's remember, of course, the numbers can fluctuate, but overall boat crossings are down quite significantly year on year, so that does suggest that the plan is working. Of course there has to be rigorous checks so that people are not put through into a situation where they are out without the relevant safeguards, and absolutely I can give you a commitment that is the clear instruction that I am giving, that all relevant and necessary checks must be done. It's about getting a grip on the entire situation. I raised this repeatedly through the Makerfield by-election. The public want to see control being exerted, and while we've made progress, there is more to do, and I recognise that completely. But the trend is down, and the number of people being removed is up, so the figures are pointing in a better direction, but there is much more to do.
Regarding the prisoner early release scheme, are you considering changing the legislation on this or just pausing the start of it?
Well, the pause is real, and it was one of the first things I did coming into office last week. So the September release is on hold, and then secondly, the review that I have instigated is also a real process, and we are taking a very serious look at the situation. Of course, this goes back a number of years when the previous government failed to put in place the prison places needed. So it is a challenging situation, and we shouldn't actually be in this position as a country, but we have to deal with the reality of where we are. But I will do anything I can to minimise risk to the public, and that is why I am looking again and why I have put the release plan for September on hold, and we'll make further statements on this in due course.
And since becoming Prime Minister, you've made a series of really optimistic policy decisions. Are you in danger of actually trying to deliver more than you can do, realistically?
No, if you look back at my record as Mayor of Greater Manchester, what I say, I do. People know that I promised to change the buses, and I did. It's my style. I don't say things and then not do them. And the thing I'm announcing today, I think, does bring some hope. It brings some hope to a lot of young people in this country who know the education system is not built for them. Well, now they have a Prime Minister who's saying, I am for you, and I will build an education system that works for you, that treats all students coming through school as equals, the academic and the technical routes in parity, offering equal paths for all young people. And I think that brings hope to a lot of young people, to a lot of families in this country, and you can see it behind, you know, the amazing young people we've met here today at Alstom in Derby, offering brilliant opportunities. They just should be the norm more. People should be able to access work placements, apprenticeships, degree apprenticeships, and they should be able to see those opportunities from school. At the moment, they can't. At 14, they can't see that path ahead of them. Well, I'm going to put that path in front of them, and we're going to change lives as a result.
By Andy Burnham. Very keen to get your reaction to that hard hat versus graduation hat proposal that he's announcing today. But it was the commentary on the small boats that piqued my interest, particularly when he was talking about the trend being down, obviously referring to this year. Last year was the second highest in terms of the number of arrivals since this started in 2018. And Andy Burnham does have the unwanted record already in his first week of the biggest number arrival on one boat, that 165 on a mega dinghy. And the problem he's got, Miriam, is that he was just being asked, what are you going to do? And he said, you know, this is working, so, or at least in that sort of vein, and said there is more to do. But what more is there to do? What new plans, what new proposals does he have? This is a national security crisis, and there's nothing new being proposed so far.
Of course, it's better that the numbers are going down rather than up, but we know how weather dependent this is. We could easily see numbers rise again if crossing conditions are favourable. So not enough is being done.
Right, let's go to South France now, because firefighters there battling major blazes, also in Spain. Parts of England are preparing also for a fourth heatwave this summer.
Well, the Prince of Wales has said the devastating wildfires across Europe are a stark reminder of the challenges posed by an increasingly extreme climate. Well, GB News' national reporter is there in southwest France. Will Godley joins us now. Will, what have you seen and heard since you arrived last night?
Well, good morning to you both. Speaking to firefighters and also members of the military this morning, there's a sense here where we are of a sense of optimism. One member who was in the military who I spoke to said he'd been here for a week. He'd been up close to the flames, but the last 24 hours or so have been crucial as temperatures have dropped and firefighters have taken full advantage of that, particularly here where we are. This is the front lip of this fire, a fire that's bigger than the whole of the Isle of Wight, and where we are is where it was burning closest to Bordeaux. We're only some 9 miles away, 20 minutes drive, and these firefighters here have come down from Paris. They've told me they're here as a precaution because we are expecting heatwave conditions to resume today. This afternoon, some 35, 38 degrees expected, and with it, that fire could reignite. And so these firefighters here waiting in case that is the case. And if so, they'll be jumping and diving into the flames to avoid any further fires getting closer to Bordeaux. Evacuation plans have been drawn up after Emmanuel Macron visited here yesterday. That's for the city of Bordeaux, but already over 250,000 people have evacuated, including British expats. One of them I spoke to earlier.
Not knowing how things are going to go is not like, I like to know that everything's going to be okay like most people, but it's just because it's so unpredicted, a lot of people are worrying, and like a lot of fake news is going on, so it just kind of creates a more unsettling kind of atmosphere where there's a lot of worry. I know that there's quite a lot of people that I do know who have evacuated their homes that aren't sure if their homes are still standing, so it's all very, I feel, really sad for them mostly. And just hope that things get better soon, really.
Well, there are some 7,000 or so firefighters here tackling this blaze, which is still causing huge problems here in the area. People aren't allowed back who have evacuated, but firefighters here optimistic that they have made headwinds so far.
Will Godley, thank you so much for that report. We will be returning to Will later on in the programme. Do let us know on your say if you've got family or friends in the area.
Right, still ahead here on Britain's Newsroom. Is the Labour Party enjoying a Burnham bounce? Because a new poll has put the party ahead of reform for the first time in more than a year. It'll be an interesting one to discuss.
Indeed. Just one poll, but could it be a trend?
We yet to really know what he's proposing. A few more announcements coming at least, but more of that after the break. You're watching Britain's Newsroom. See you soon.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. There is a collision on the M27 eastbound between junctions 8 and 9 in Bursleden. The A1 northbound is closed after the A1139. The A11 is closed after the A134. The A5 is closed after the A4553. On the M6 northbound between junctions 18 and 19 in Middlewich, a collision is causing delays. In Scotland, the M74 northbound between Junction 1A at Polmody Road and Junction 2 at Cambuslang Road has lane restrictions causing congestion. And on the trains, there is major disruption on Avanti West Coast and Lumo services between Edinburgh, Motherwell and Carlisle. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's a great British giveaway Golden Summer Celebration. Your chance to win 2 fantastic prizes. There's an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also get your hands on a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
day in, day out. Forget stuffy late-night TV shows. We're giving you a front-row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 a.m. on Tuesday, the 28th of July. Live across the United Kingdom, this is Britain's Newsroom with Charlie Peters and Miriam Cates.
Well, it's trades over grades. The Prime Minister tells schools to prioritise technical education as he tries to tackle youth unemployment. But tradies, do you feel valued by the government?
The law has been passed. These offenders, including rapists, child groomers, killers, they are going to start getting out from September unless there is a change to legislation.
Well, the Conservatives are demanding emergency laws to block sex offenders walking free from prison early. Abuse survivor Jade Belgrove told GB News that she wants the Prime Minister to act now.
Pray and plead that he will do the right thing, to be honest. It is completely a matter of right and wrong.
And so I please the police are investigating. Ultimately, it's up to them how far they take this.
Well, the Green Party leader Zach Polanski has been referred to the Metropolitan Police for sharing an image of a man wearing a T-shirt with a guillotine graphic alongside the caption, "We're only making plans for Nigel."
And Europe is burning. France and Spain are braced for new heat waves as deadly wildfires close in on Bordeaux.
Yeah, those flames now just 9 miles away from the city. An area the size bigger than the Isle of Wight has already burnt here in southwest France, and 240 homes destroyed and more than 250,000 people evacuated, including many Brits.
I'm pleased to have kind of made a start where hopefully I've connected with people.
And are we seeing a Burnham bounce? A new poll puts Labour ahead of Reform UK for the first time in more than a year.
How about this for a harvest of howlers? A shocking new study has found that 1 in 5 children think that vegetables grow on supermarket shelves, not in the soil. What are children also getting up to on their summer holidays?
Well, I'm at a holiday park on the Kent coast. As Brits are saying, what's the point in going abroad when we have the holiday sun and beauty right on our doorstep? While I'm here, I'll also be chatting to kids as a report is released saying that children in the UK are confused about where our food comes from.
So, Charlie, since last spring, so spring 2025, Reform UK have topped every single voting poll in Britain. But for the first time, a poll conducted at the end of last week, Labour have moved ahead. This one particular poll puts Reform on 28% of the vote. Sorry, Labour on 28% of the vote and Reform on 24%. Do you think this is a bounce or is it here to stay?
I think it's a bounce, but that's what you might expect with a brand new Prime Minister. Let's not forget just how deeply unpopular Sir Keir Starmer was, the most disliked, in some cases, hated Prime Minister in modern history. So it's no tremendous surprise that removing him for someone else who is a much better communicator, at least, would lead to a rise in the polls. So lots of people who want to vote Labour but wouldn't so long as Sir Keir Starmer was around. The question is, will Mr Burnham survive contact with reality? Because it's all very easy to have a big engagement process, to talk a lot about your plans and your ideas, Will they work? And will those messages actually transform into policies that people agree with? I think that's obviously the tricky test.
Is a high-vis jacket enough? Another interesting part of that poll was what's happened to the Green Party, because it wasn't long ago that we were talking about this fragmented vote where we had 5 parties on roughly 20% each. Well, the Green Party have dropped, I think, from a high of around 19% down to 8%. They're no longer a major player anymore. Perhaps that has something to do with what Zach Polanski's been getting up to. I don't think he's being taken very seriously anymore.
Well, yes, I mean, let's not forget what was said after the horrific attack in North London, the stabbing of those Jewish people. That attack, the language there was, oh, the Mets were wrong to deal with it so severely, well, actually appropriately, a bit of force there. Some people thought that there was not enough force, but you know, everyone's got their own view. But do you know what? It's not just what he's saying, Zach Polanski. It's that he's just gone missing. Perhaps they worked so hard for the local elections in May. There's some sort of time off in lieu that's going on for the Green Party. I haven't seen him for months. They're all just taking a very long summer holiday. I mean, what's going on? Is there a bit of a work-shy culture in the Green Party? I don't know.
Gone to grow some vegetables. That would be a very green thing to do. Maybe Isabel will catch up with him later. But it might persuade Andy Burnham to hold an early general election. That's one danger or potential, depending on your point of view.
Which he has sort of ruled out, hasn't he?
But he's kind of got to, everybody does that, don't they?
We'll see.
Until they don't.
Yeah, gbnews.com/your say is your way to get in touch. But before you send us anything, let's speak to Sam Francis, who's got the latest news headlines.
Thank you both, and a very good morning to you. Just after 10 o'clock, or 5 past 10, I should say, Andy Burnham is promising to redraw the route from school to work, offering 14-year-olds new technical pathways into jobs. From Year 10, pupils will be able to combine English and maths with technical education linked to jobs in their local area. The plans are expected to begin in September of 2028, with subjects including construction, coding, manufacturing, healthcare and creative industries. The plans are part of the government's wider push to tackle youth unemployment, as figures now show more than 1 million young people are not in education, employment or training. But head teachers say ministers now need to explain how schools can deliver the reforms alongside existing pressures on budgets and staffing. Well, earlier this morning, Andy Burnham said that education systems have been built for too long around the university route, leaving some young people, he says, feeling like second-class citizens.
The evidence is where countries have an education system based on that principle of parity, Germany or the Netherlands, they have far fewer young people who end up not in education, employment or training. And I think it's long overdue that Britain makes this change. And in England particularly, we build an education system that has a path at 14 for all young people, and we strengthen that offer on technical education.
Also this morning, Kemi Badenoch is calling on Andy Burnham to bring in emergency legislation to block hundreds of prisoners from being released early. It follows a warning from grooming survivors who say the answer to overcrowded jails must not be the release of serious sexual and violent offenders. The scheme was designed to ease severe prison overcrowding, with around 700 prisoners due to be freed in the first phase this September. The Prime Minister paused that plan last week and ordered an urgent review. Labour is claiming it's fixing a prison system left on the brink of collapse by the Conservatives, who released thousands of prisoners early while they were in government. But solicitor Amy Clowry is urging Andy Burnham to stand with victims.
This is just another downgrade of survivors' rights, and Andy Burnham needs to take urgent action to make sure that perpetrators of serious sexual offences and violent offences are not released early under this new scheme.
Next, an update on the growing situation. Wildfires across much of Europe. Firefighters racing to control major blazes near Bordeaux and Madrid this morning, as another intense heatwave is threatening to make the crisis even worse. More than 300,000 people have been evacuated so far across France and Spain in recent days. In southwest France, crews west of Bordeaux say the fire has stabilised overnight but is still not under control. Residents have been describing thick smoke hanging over the city. In Spain, meanwhile, crews are also battling major fires near Madrid, where temperatures are expected to climb to 39 degrees. But with no rain forecast until at least Friday of this week, officials are warning that the coming days could be critical in stopping the flames from spreading even further. Here, Reform UK has reported the Green Party leader Zach Polanski to police after he shared an Instagram post showing a man wearing a top with a guillotine and the name Nigel. The image appeared in a series of pictures from a Green Party event, which Mr Polanski had accepted as a collaboration post. Mr Farage criticised him on X, saying if he had posted something as insightful himself, he would be expected to be arrested. The Green Party said Mr Polanski removed the post immediately and does not support what it calls a dangerous message. And a small boost for shoppers, with shop price inflation slowing, helped by summer deals and retailers clearing seasonal stock. Prices are now 0.9% higher than a year ago, with retailers offering summer promotions on food, clothing and footwear. Food price inflation also eased slightly, although fresh food prices rose more quickly than the month before. Those are the 10 o'clock headlines for you. More news shortly. Next, though, it's back to Charlie and Miriam.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Charlie Peters and Miriam Cates.
Now, the Prime Minister is set to unveil new technical education pathways as he argues a generation of young people have been let down by the current system.
Yes, Andy Burnham says that the long-standing push to send half of school leavers to university under Sir Tony Blair has let down a generation.
But do tradesmen feel valued by the government? Well, let's speak now to the Chief Executive Officer for the National Access and Scaffolding Confederation, Clive Dickin. Clive, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for your time this morning. What do you make of this announcement then? It's being billed as hard hats being as valued as much as the graduation hat.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning, Charlie. Look, it's fantastic. Finally, the hard hat getting some recognition, and quite rightly so. I mean, NSC members that are quality scaffolding contracting businesses, we did some research earlier this year pointing to 40,000 vacancies expected over the next 5 years. Scaffolders have great salaries, great working conditions, but it's just not at all being recognised. And reality is today, brilliant. We're seeing parity now with academic qualifications, but the devil's in the detail. I mean, we see comments around targeting schools, great. We see funding, but what does that actually mean? And NESC's been doing a hell of a lot of work and supporting its members getting into schools, but it's getting the teachers and all of the educational systems to align. So great. Let's see what the detail says.
What do you think has changed, Clive? Why do you think young people don't want to go into the trades in the same way as they did perhaps a generation or two ago? Is it because they don't know the jobs are there, they don't know how to access them, or is it a cultural shift where young people are being told that they have to pursue an academic route if they want status in life?
I think there's several factors in play. I see certainly schools, when we're engaging with educational systems, are very much targeted on focusing on getting into A-levels, into then through sixth forms and colleges, then into university. And that's going right the way back, as identified today, with the Tony Blair years. That also being said, vocational qualification routes have become more difficult. Certainly within the scaffolding sector, further education, which needs support, the training deliverers need support. Those systems are actually, certainly for scaffolding, require more investment. We haven't seen that. Colleges haven't had that investment, and we need to see that come from government. But also, employers have been disincentivised. Recent taxation has changed. Funding routes have become more complicated. And I'm going to go back to that detail. If Andy Burnham is committed to it, we've got to see those changes, and we've got to see the incentivisation. Trade associations like ours for NASC, we're doing a lot. We've got scaffoldingcareers.com. We've got our members going out and talking to young people in schools. But that's just the tip of the iceberg that we really need to be changing.
Clive, this is hard work. This is our early mornings, physical graft, and often a lot of commuting involved as well. You're not going to an office every day in that gig. Do you think that's putting off some young people as well, or are you encountering lots of highly motivated young people who are aware of what's coming, or aware of what's required in the career? Or is there an issue where you're seeing people thinking, actually, it's easier for me to just be on universal credit or on PIP rather than getting up at the crack of dawn and doing this gig?
Look, there's always disincentives around every role. But if you look at scaffolding and access, there's a great salary. There's a great career path. I mean, if you look at an advanced scaffolder, salaries can, if you apply correctly, over £100,000. Working environment, it's fresh air. It's out working at height in high engineering. We've got to start talking about the positives of each trade to actually incentivise and see the value. That's what's missing actually in the school environment. There's a focus of, oh, let's go to university, let's become doctors, influencers, professionals. But the number of vacancies in those spaces are actually not that high. We've got to start talking with the same passion in the school environment and get that recognition that there's a great employer out there, a great career out there, and an exciting day ahead. And that's one that's rewarding, not just fiscally, but actually when you step back and you look at, in our case, a scaffolding structure that's safe, that's allowing other trades, other industries, other sectors to actually gain access safely, that should be recognised and really, really encouraged within the school environment.
Clive Dickin, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. That's Clive Dickin, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Access and Scaffolding Confederation.
Quite a title, that. I have to say, he's right about fresh air and the opportunity to be working outdoors. Plenty of vitamin D if you're a bricklayer or a scaffolder and all that sort of work. I do think people underrate that.
Yeah,
and the opportunity to be in a different place all the time.
But I think for so long, since Blair, perhaps since before that, we have valued the academic route at the expense of others. In other countries, it's not quite like that. In Germany, in the Scandinavian countries, in Holland, the technical route is given kind of equal status to academic route, and children prefer it.
And even though, Miriam, it hasn't got the equal status as you put it here in Britain, we are seeing, I think, despite this issue, more and more young people who are choosing apprentices or getting a trade, basically laughing at their mates who went to university and saying, enjoy your 50 grand and all the rest of it in debt. I'm already making more money than you might earn before you're 40.
Absolutely. A third of young male graduates now would have been better off if they didn't go to university. So definitely that's where the money is. But the other problem we've got is it's free at the point of delivery, university, isn't it? It costs you a lot of money, but nothing up front. Whereas if you want to train to be an electrician, for example, it could cost you £10,000. Where are you going to find that? Maybe they need to equalise those two systems as well.
Plenty of Sparkies in my family, and I think some of them are a bit distressed that I chose this gig. But there we go. It is what it is.
At least you can't get electrocuted.
Yes. Right, should we move on now? The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, she has been calling on Andy Burnham to bring in emergency legislation to block hundreds of prisoners being released early. Let's take a listen to what she said.
We are very concerned that at least 6,500 rapists, killers and paedophiles, that's the minimum number, could be released by the 2nd of September.
Well, grooming survivors are urging Andy Burnham to stand with victims as he reviews plans to release thousands of prisoners early.
Well, we're joined now by political commentator Matthew Stadler. Matthew, thank you very much for joining us today. Now, this urge for him to pause or review these plans...
Well, he's paused it, hasn't he, already?
Well, what does that mean? The sentencing legislation is going to come in September. So you can't pause legislation in that way directly. It might need politicians to come back early to Parliament and change legislation.
Will he recall Parliament? And this is an example of a difficult decision that Andy Burnham's going to have to make. It's all very well the giveaways and so forth, and he's had, I think, a very good start to his prime ministership. But calling MPs back to make tough choices, that's what ultimately I think will define him. Look, this is a legacy problem, but it's become Labour's problem. So the Tories, your party, they left, I think, just 100 free spaces in the adult male estate when this Labour government took control in July a couple of years ago. That's an astonishing failure, because it is the first responsibility, isn't it, of the state to keep us safe from outside, from foreign powers, but also amongst ourselves. So it is a very serious situation. Labour would say that they've created, nearly 3,000 new places, and that they're building a further 5,000 as part of a drive to get 14,000 new places, I think, by 2031. But clearly it's not happened quickly enough. If you want my view, I would not be allowing rapists and other violent criminals out early. I would find another way of fixing the problem. Now, it's not my responsibility. I'm not in power in government. Those sorts of choices are really tough. Don't forget, if you don't do something about it, if you don't release anyone early, given there don't seem to be enough places, then you're not going to be able to stick people in prison moving forward. So this is a really nasty, thorny issue that Burnham is facing.
It is, and one obvious solution would be to build prisons very, very quickly or convert disused military bases. I was reading this morning that the government of Ecuador commissioned a Chinese company to build a maximum security super prison. It took them 300 days from start to finish. It's clearly possible. Why can't we do that?
Well, we're not very good at doing that in this country. You'd have probably a better insight than I would, having been closer to power than I have ever been. But it's something that we really need to look at. And Starmer, this was part of what he was supposed to be about, was deregulating. Not deregulating irresponsibly, but deregulating so that we could get over some of the red tape and also making sure that NIMBYism doesn't win out in this country. I mean, no one really wants to have a prison in their backyard, but someone's going to have to if we're going to be able to house the number of prisoners that we have.
If you don't want a prison in your backyard, you might soon have a prisoner next door.
And that's the narrative that has got to be explained to me. This is a very serious story, and it's a serious story because it is the sort of story that really undermined Keir Starmer's premiership.
Absolutely.
Now, it's difficult for the Tories to make this argument because they created the problem in the first place. But Labour aren't just up against the Tories, they're up against an insurgent party that's never had the responsibility of power in national government. So it's easy for Reform to throw stones.
Yes, and Matthew, we've seen when Labour exited government, they found a note saying there's no money left. It seems very much that when Labour turned up in government, they found a note that said there are no prison cells left. They have an opportunity to do something serious here. It's a major test. What could the ramifications be for Andy Burnham if he doesn't meet this moment?
Well, I think he understands the potential ramifications precisely, as I say, that he's been pausing this early prisoner release. The question is, how does he follow that up? But he has the opportunity now to do things differently to Starmer. Starmer was coming in with Labour having not been in power for 14 years. Andy Burnham is coming in, seeing the mistakes that the Starmer government made, and it is now open to him to correct those.
It's been over a week since he's been in power.
He's got a lot on his in tray, hasn't he?
I know, but I think this is... I mean, as we say, in terms of security of the state, I mean, you referenced the importance of this. These women are speaking right now live at this conference. He only made this announcement about a pause, Matthew, after we heard about the killers of Andrew Harper, that police officer, being facing early release as well. But these women have been talking about this for months. When Sir Keir Starmer was in power as well, they got these letters last month, many of them. He has taken too long, I think, even in his first week, to make this announcement. Should have been a day one measure, I think, and not just talk about a pause, which he can't do, as you know, but actually a clear plan. He's had plenty of time to prepare for this. As far as we know, he's been preparing for government for over a year. This has to come very soon.
Well, it does, and if it doesn't come, then he is going to face the same sort of flames that Starmer faced. He was asked in his first major interview since becoming Prime Minister by Laura Kuenssberg over at the BBC about how quickly he was able to move. Was he moving quickly enough? And he said that he's got to look at all these things with a fresh pair of eyes, but once he's looked at them, he's going to be able to make quick decisions.
OK.
Matthew Studden, thank you so much for sharing your views this morning.
Right, up next here on Britain's Newsroom, Labour have outtaken Reform in the polls for the first time in a year. Is this the Burnham bounce or just a testing time for Reform?
Well, we'll be going through that and more with our panel, Dr Renee Hunderkamp and Kevin Maguire. Watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Politics, policy, Parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racist tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. You're watching Britain's Newsroom with Charlie Peters and Miriam Cates.
Well, we're now joined by political commentator and GP Dr Renee Honderkamp and the journalist Kevin Maguire in the studio. And given that Andrew's not here, I feel honour bound to announce that you have a podcast.
Thank you. Yeah.
Otherwise, our viewers would wonder what's going on. There you go. Other podcasts are available.
Right, then, shall we talk about this Burnham bounce, Dr Renee? It's quite the thing, isn't it? Overtaking reform for the first time in a year, over a year, in fact.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was predictable, wasn't it? Because I think the hatred for Keir Starmer was so vast that I think people are just keen now to have something different and give him a chance, I think. I think probably Labour voters that were just so disenchanted by Starmer are going to give him a chance. So I think it's there. I don't think it's going to last long, personally, because I think chaos will consume enough when there isn't enough money for all of these grand plans. But I think it was expected.
But Kevin, it isn't just Andy Burnham being maybe better at the media, more enthusiastic, more optimistic than Keir Starmer. Reform are also facing troubled waters at the moment. Do you think that's feeding into this poll change?
Yeah, because if you notice, just before Burnham came, the gap was narrowing. There were lots of polls having Labour and Reform together. Now Labour are one poll. And I know a swallow doesn't make summer and so on. But Labour 28, Reform 24, Labour's up 4, Reform are down 2. And I think those money troubles of Farage and the wider Reform Party now, as they spread, are cutting through with voters. And Reform have a very high floor, I think, in their vote, somewhere in the early 20s. But their ceiling has fallen because the Reform curious, people who are interested in them because they sounded different, alienated by Labour, some of them will be going back to Labour. Kemi Badenoch's doing quite well, talks a decent game for the Conservatives, and that's making it a much more competitive environment.
And the Greens have disappeared as well.
The Greens, they'll have probably gone back to Labour. Zach Palance's got his own troubles, which we may be about to discuss. But the truth is, no one's cutting through fully. And I used to hear Zia used to say the country wants a reform government. No, it didn't. It was about 27-28% of people did. And I think the next general election, because we have a two-party system, we've got 5 national parties, Wales, Scotland, you've got the Nationalist Party, so you've got 6 parties. I don't think any party will get more than 30% of the vote.
Yeah.
This won't happen, but you might get a majority on that, which is a ridiculous system we're in.
So, I mean, there is an issue now, I think, where Andy Burnham is facing the same pitfalls that threatened Keir Starmer. I remember 2 Septembers ago, when Starmer was early on in his premiership, we had the early release scheme for prisoners there.
Yeah.
Prisoners actually popping champagne outside HMP Wandsworth. I mean, that started to tank his popularity. He's facing the same situation now, but actually much worse, because we're looking at child rapists being released early here.
Because they've run out of people.
They've run out of space. They've run out of space.
Well, and they've run out of people who didn't do anything quite so heinous as being child rapists to release. So now they have no choice but to start releasing horrible people. And I think as a country, we should be locking away people we're scared of, not people who have done...
Right, but the point I'm trying to make here is that actually the same risks are facing Andy Burnham.
Yeah.
He needs to act and not just talk a decent game. So far, talking about a pause doesn't actually mean anything. He needs to introduce legislation. I mean, he's facing a major risk here.
He's facing a major risk. He's trying to buy time, isn't he? I mean, he is just trying to buy time where he thinks about what he can possibly do and also what he can possibly afford. So there are lots of things coming into this. But we have other things that are going to pop up too that he hasn't addressed yet. When the boats keep coming and the migrants keep coming at 160 a day in each boat, he's going to face that problem, which also unseated Keir Starmer.
But the figures are quite down on last year.
Well,
Still,
the net, at the moment,
and net migration is down 80%. But on the question of early releases, look, Starmer inherited full prisons from the Conservatives. The House of Commons research paper said there were only net 500 new places created over 40 years.
But you know one of the reasons for that? Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm not sorry, but I will. One of the reasons for that is the Conservatives did actually build, I think, about 20,000 places. It was fewer than they intended to, but they were shutting others at the same rate that were condemned and old and Victorian. And their main problem was NIMBYism. Councils and local residents who refused to allow prisons to be built near them and put in multiple judicial reviews. And I'm not defending the Conservatives, but that is the reality of what happens in this country.
So-called Nightingale prisons would be NIMBYism on steroids, because nobody wants 1,000 prisoners dumped on their doorstep. But Alex Chalk, when he was Justice Secretary in the Conservatives, he started an early release scheme.
Yes, 17 days early for minor offenders. 17 to start with, 30 then 70.
You could see it was going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it really hurt Starmer. But I think Burnham's cleverly realised just some of the people being allowed out now should not be allowed out. There's no
like a genius to work that out there. You say cleverly, I mean, it's pretty basic stuff.
There's no easy, good answer. And some people are going to be released. Some people are going to be released early who shouldn't, who'll be fraudsters, serial burglars, some violent people. But I think you have to exclude killers, paedophiles, rapists.
Yes.
There are 10,000 foreigners in our prisons. 10,000.
I think higher than that. I think it's close to 12,000.
Yeah,
12%.
The biggest portion is Albanians.
If you can get a deal for them to serve their time in their home country, fantastic. You have some of that going now. But you could say just deport them all. Well, hang on. That means you'll have murderers just being let off scot-free. That's what you do if you just deported them. That's why this government or the last government wouldn't do it. You want a deal where they serve their sentence in their home country, but you do not want to just say, and again, I keep hearing some politicians, or you've just said it, just got all these foreigners, get them out of the prisons. Well, you'd be setting them free and they include rapists and paedophiles and murderers.
But, Kevin, that is a proposal, that's a possibility. And the problem I think we have at the moment is that Andy Burnham is getting much the same treatment that Sir Keir Starmer enjoyed a couple of years ago when he came into office. There was a bit of a coronation experience. I mean, you're nodding because you're seeing it yourself, aren't you?
Oh, God,
some senior politicians, senior journalists are talking more about how they went to the same Cambridge college than they are about prosecuting his proposals. And we need that right now. We need it very seriously. I mean, are you worried, Dr. Renee, that actually there isn't enough of a plan behind the Burnham project? And at the moment, it's a lot of talking about pauses that, again, don't mean anything, and there isn't enough substance behind it.
Of course. And what I find really weird is if you listen to Louise Haigh, who said they've been planning for this for a year. So if they've been planning for a year, they should have a plan, a really good plan, because they've been planning for a year. And I don't think they do. And I also think he's going to face, not just on this, every single issue that was here 2 years ago is still here and is going to trip him up.
Well, it'll confront him, and he may overcome it, or he may be tripped up by it. But that's how politics works, and we've got to hold them accountable, whoever is Prime Minister. But if you're in power, you can do something. If you're in opposition, you just shout, but you have little impact. And it's a big test of him, and he should be tested.
But we talk about the care homes where they're going to do a cross-party. Why does he need a cross-party agreement? He's got a massive majority.
OK, you two, sorry, I've got to interrupt. We're moving on now. I'll see you back in the next hour. Right, it's time for your 60-second news update now with Sam Francis.
Thank you both. Very good morning to you. Just after 10:30. The top story this hour: children are set to be given a clearer route into work from the age of 14 under Andy Burnham's plans for a major education shake-up. Head teachers say they do support the ambition, but now need clarity on funding and delivery. The plan comes amid concern that more than 1 million young people are not in education, employment or training. Kemi Badenoch has called on the Prime Minister to bring in emergency legislation to block hundreds of prisoners from being released early. It follows a warning from grooming survivors who say the answer to overcrowded jails must not be the release of serious sexual and violent offenders. Solicitor Amy Clowry is urging Andy Burnham to stand with victims.
This is just another downgrade of survivors' rights, and Andy Burnham needs to take urgent action to make sure that perpetrators of serious sexual offences and violent offences are not released early under this new scheme.
Also this morning, more than 360,000 people have now been evacuated as wildfires tear through parts of France and Spain. A major fire near Bordeaux has now been contained, but officials warn it could flare up again with temperatures rising and winds set to change. Here, police are conducting inquiries after Reform reported Zach Polanski over an image shared on his Instagram. The picture showed a man wearing a T-shirt with a guillotine and the name Nigel. The Green Party says Mr Polanski immediately unshared the post once it was brought to his attention. But the Conservatives' Kieran Mullen claims the Greens have a track record of inappropriate posts.
There's just this horrible mess of stuff that's coming out of the Green Party, and Zach Polanski is just adding to that.
And cold case detectives are making a final push for answers in the disappearance of Susie Lamplugh 40 years after she vanished in London. The 25-year-old left her office in Fulham for an appointment with a mysterious Mr Kipper in 1986, but never returned. Those are the latest headlines for now. Full roundup with the news at 11.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Well, coming up next, it's reported that France is facing its most difficult situation since the Second World War amid ferocious wildfires. We'll be there at the scene shortly.
You're watching Britain's Newsroom only on GB News. See you shortly.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Damp and overcast across more northwestern areas this morning. Should brighten up this afternoon. It's going to be a very hot day across more southern and eastern areas. High pressures dominating across these areas, so a bright and sunny start. Further north, the rain should slowly start to ease as we head towards lunchtime and into this afternoon. But then there's a risk of the odd heavy, possibly thundery downpour across parts of Scotland in particular. Quite windy as well across the very far north of Scotland. So there will be a fresher feel here, temperatures in the high teens. Further south, though, closer to 30 degrees, possibly highs of 31 degrees across far south and eastern areas of England. So a pretty dry end to the day across the south, a relatively dry end to the day further north, particularly across more eastern areas of Scotland. But rain will continue to linger across more western areas of Scotland, and the breeze remains relatively strong as well. A lot of cloud across parts of Northern Ireland, Northern England, perhaps some drizzly rain across the higher ground and some coastal areas towards Wales as well as the Pennines. But further south across the Midlands and southern areas of England, it should be a dry and clear night. We could see some mist and fog developing here and there, particularly across more central areas of the UK, and low pressure's never too far away overnight, so rain will continue to push in across parts of the far northwest. So it remains cloudy and damp for more northwestern areas, clear and dry further south. So it will be another very warm night, temperatures holding up above 20 degrees, possibly for some of us to start the day on Wednesday, which makes for another very hot day on Wednesday. Temperatures are likely to climb towards the mid-30s in the south and east. So a very hot day indeed, likely the hottest day of this week before it cools down for the weekend. Meanwhile, across the north, another pretty damp day, potentially some thundery downpours and temperatures closer to the low 20s and high teens. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A1 northbound is closed after the A1139. The A11 is closed after the A134. The A5 is closed after the A453. On the M6 northbound between junctions 18 and 19 near Middlewich, there is a collision. The M6 northbound between junctions 17 and 18 near Congleton has a lane closure. North of the border, the M77 northbound has lane restrictions at junction 2 causing queues. And on the trains, there is major disruption between Edinburgh, Motherwell and Carlisle on Avanti West Coast and Lumo services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. It's 22 minutes to 11. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Now, firefighters are battling major blazes in both France and Spain, and also parts of England are preparing for a fourth heatwave this summer.
Well, GB News' national reporter Will Godley joins us now. He's near Bordeaux. Will, what have you been seeing and hearing this morning?
Well, good morning to both of you. Yeah, we're about 9 miles away from Bordeaux, and we've been seeing lots of these little kinds of firefighter Jeep kind of cars, and these are really integral to how they're fighting the fires here, because overnight they have been dampening the flames, putting water on the flames. But right now, at this, what is the closest lip of the fire to Bordeaux, these little cars are driving on these little streets at the moment to try and see if they can see any smoke, any flames that need immediate attention in order to prevent the flames from reigniting and getting any nearer this, what is a huge city in France. And the reason why officials here are so worried that flames could reignite is because temperatures are rising, and they're forecast to rise to 35, 36, 37 degrees here today and tomorrow, and the ground is incredibly dry. Grass, just like hay, having been dried out in what has been a summer of heat wave. And so with the ground smouldering and heat rising, firefighters worried flames could reignite. Yesterday I spoke to Brits at the airport if they were worried about these wildfires impacting their holiday plans.
Well, they're a real problem. I mean, it's serious everywhere to the southwest in particular. We live in the southeast, so not directly affected at this point in time, but it's really, really bad.
No, I've got no plan, to be honest.
We've got family here who's expecting us to be here, so we're quite worried their flight was going to get cancelled, so we just didn't know what was happening.
Well, the size of this wildfire here is bigger than the Isle of Wight, and in total throughout France, the size of land that's been on fire and is burning, or is now burnt, is bigger than Cornwall. There have been some 7,000 firefighters tackling it. This brigade here has come from Paris. They tell me they're on standby, preparing for in case the flames get worse later on this afternoon. And if you look over here, these scenes of logs brand new in this neighbourhood, as farmers busy cutting down trees to act as natural fire breaks to stop under all measures the flames from getting near Bordeaux. And if they do get there, well, evacuation plans have been drawn up. The hope is, though, they never have to be put in place.
Will Godley, near Bordeaux, thank you very much for that report. And Charlie, as I was saying, I've been there recently, and all the way down the coast from La Rochelle all the way down to Spain, it's just forest, slightly inland from the beach, and it's stunning, but obviously a massive fire risk when it's been this dry and this hot for so long.
You timed it rather well, didn't you?
I was incredibly fortunate. I mean, it's just so sad seeing the place where we had a lovely family holiday now up in flames, and yeah, absolutely terrifying.
I think you were telling me that a boat that you were using is now been repurposed as an
Yeah,
evacuation
there's a
vessel.
foot ferry across from Arcachon, which is a holiday town, to this Cap Ferret, which is on a peninsula over the bay that tourists use to go and have a look at the peninsula. There's a lighthouse there, and it's every 10 minutes from the quayside, which is now being used, or has been used, to evacuate residents and tourists from Cap Ferret, sometimes in the middle of the night. It's just, honestly, really, really shocking to see that.
Quite extraordinary. Right then, it is 42 minutes past 10. Let's move on now. Trades over grades. This is coming up next. The Prime Minister has set out his plan to steer these NEETs away from unemployment.
But first, if you're planning on taking a holiday, here's our forecast for the top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, you're heading away for the summer holidays. Well, it's turning very hot across parts of France and Spain. High pressure dominates across Europe, bringing plenty of dry weather. Very warm across the Canary Islands as well as towards Madeira. Coastal areas of Portugal and Spain will be cooler, and temperatures in the high 20s, low 30s. Towards Italy, though, as well as Greece, very hot indeed. There is a risk of thunderstorms as well across the Alps, but it does remain fine, dry and warm into the weekend as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Should James Bond stay white and male?
Yes, I think that's probably the best course of action. If you think about it, Amazon have taken over Bond about a year ago, and they're a big company, aren't they? And this is a risk, isn't it? They don't want to be seen to cast their first James Bond in anything other than the most popular Bond to everybody. So if you're a casting director, like Debbie McWilliams has said, the previous one, I suppose it'd be who would be the most popular? What's the safest thing to do? So I think, in other iterations, there's nothing to say it couldn't be anything other than white, but this is the first one back, so I think it will be the safe thing to do. And it has to be a man. That's non-negotiable. I think audiences would instantly be complaining, and they want as little controversy going into this new film as they can.
The People's Channel. Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
With the football, a row has erupted. A racism row again, this time at a Kent secondary school after pupils' children were allegedly told to scrub painted England flags from their arms because, you've guessed it, they were deemed as racist. Is this the woke flag monitors simply spoiling everybody's fun?
Now, look, if we are going to police flags, that's clearly a problem. I think there are lots of people who feel negatively towards the England flag because of what it's represented in the past, and that's a real shame. But it's nice to see that new generations, I'm the son of immigrants, and I don't feel that. I haven't inherited that, and that's really positive. Look, so we should be able to, especially during a football match, fly that flag with pride and enjoy it.
I know that part of the world a little bit. I travelled to Broadstairs, Thanet, Sandwich. You see the Union flag, and particularly the England flag, everywhere.
Yes.
Even under normal circumstances, you see the England flag being proudly flown. So this is completely insane.
The People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
There was a Ryanair flight from Thessaloniki in Greece, and a part of the plane hit the window and pulled it out. And so this man, a 61-year-old Serbian man, was sucked out of the window. And his wife, she says that she was desperately holding onto his legs to keep him inside the plane for 5 minutes. Wow. It was horrendous. Apparently the aircraft did eventually land normally and passengers were safe and a replacement airline was sent. He was taken to hospital with friction burns. It was a part of the propeller had come loose from the engine and it had hit the window, and that's what had taken the window out. So it wasn't as though it was thought to be loose in the first place. But can you imagine?
No.
I mean,
don't want to.
Unbelievable.
I'm not
a good flyer,
I have to admit.
This terrifies me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
All right, you're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News, and it's 10:46, which means it's time now for the Great British Giveaway. It's your chance to win how much, Miriam?
£60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar worth over £5,000. Here are all the details you need.
It's the Great British Giveaway Golden Summer Celebration. Your chance to win 2 fantastic prizes. There's an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash that can make your bank account brilliant. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny. Plus, you'll also get your hands on a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. You could give that to your children, your grandchildren, or just invest it for the future. What would you do with it? Just make sure you don't miss your chance to win £60,000 cash and a fine gold bar. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck with that. Well, you have been getting in touch on gbnews.com/your say. Charlie, what have the viewers been saying?
Well, this person called Brits Forever, curious name, not sure it's a Christian name, has got in touch to say Burnham hasn't even mentioned to get his claws into the meaty issues yet. The boats, net zero, he has been talking about the boats a bit and saying there's more to come, but we'll see when that is. Legal and illegal immigration, the reduction of welfare, all of which will bring his government down if they are not dealt with sharpish. And I think that's a really key point. Yeah. He's been talking around some pretty straightforward issues that need to be gripped with, but I think you recognise there's so much factionalism in the Labour Party, yes. Some of which, of course, he's created himself and is now dealing with, having kicked out all of the Starmerites. And he knows, I'm sure as you all do at home, or if you're listening in the car right now on the radio, that there is a major risk facing Andy Burnham if he commits to a major direction on any of those policies, particularly welfare, particularly also as well, Miriam, as he's opted to remove the whipping system and make it more of an open discussion, a sort of Chinese parliament, as an approach to dealing with policy, which might not necessarily work when you need to make a decision and force people to stick with it.
Well, he said he's going to turn the Whip's office into an HR department. Well, HR departments are famously unproductive, so let's see how that's going to work. But I think it's a really good point. If he doesn't get to grip with these problems, the government will fall because it become really unpopular. But as you were saying, if he does get to grips with them, if he makes the kind of common sense decisions that so many people in the country want, he could also bring the government down because the Labour MPs rebel.
Oh, snap.
He could go through the middle and call a general election and try and get a new mandate, but that would be the nuclear option.
That would be. I'm not sure that HR would deal with that.
No, probably not. There'd be a lot of P45s, quite possibly.
There we go. Right, let's move on now. It is 10 to 11. The school holidays are well underway this summer. Many British families are choosing to holiday closer to home.
But a shocking new study has revealed that many children are confused about everyday food, with 1 in 5 believing fruit and vegetables come straight from the shops. So perhaps the summer holidays is a good time to find out about it. Well, GB News South of England reporter Isabel Fekulak joins us now.
Isabel, what's going on here? We're talking about fruit and veg, but also the holiday season and people holidaying in Britain. Good luck combining both of those. So, away to you.
Well, good morning, sorry, to both of you, Charlie and Miriam. Yes, we're here. We're here at Havens Kent Coast Holiday Park. As you can see, people outside already enjoying the sunshine here. The weather is beautiful. Of course, that's probably why so many people are choosing to staycation this year, alongside flight prices being hiked up due to the conflict in the Middle East. We've been chatting to lots of people who say, why go abroad when we have the holiday sun right on our doorstep? doorstep. Of course, while we're here, we've also been chatting to kids about this HelloFresh report that has been released. It's a poll of 500 kids. They've been asked where they think fruit and veg comes from. 1 in 5 saying that they think it comes straight from the shop. 17% believe that broccoli are actually just little trees, and 40% don't know that potatoes grow underground. So we're going to come through here. We've got the arcade, a big site, and we're going to try and chat to some kids here to see what they think. Hello, good morning, guys. Good to see you. Could I ask you quickly, where do you think our fruit and veg comes from?
A local farm.
Very good, very good. So not directly from the shop?
No.
And then let's talk about, you're here on holiday, you're choosing to staycation this year. Why is that?
We just got a good deal. Yeah, got a good deal, it's by the beach.
And do you think the weather has contributed to that? Would you normally go abroad?
Yeah, it's a lot more possible to get a UK holiday now with the same sort of temperatures.
And a great boost for kind of UK tourism, local economy. How long are you guys here for, and what have you been up to while you're here?
A week, and just loads of haven activities for the kids.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll be chatting to lots more Brits throughout the day. We'll be hearing from lots more kids as well on that report. Of course, Brits choosing to holiday in the UK. 64% of Brits, according to a study, now choosing to plan a UK holiday instead of going abroad. So a great boost for tourism here. We'll be here soaking in all the activities and adventures at the Haven in Kent today.
Isabel, thank you very much for that. Of course, it is a good point, isn't it, Charlie? Lots of people go abroad so that the one thing you can guarantee is good weather. Well, we've had such a long, hot, dry spell. It does make you think, well, why not just stay here?
Yeah, we were doing that European holiday weather promotion earlier. Well, the next story, half of Europe appears to be on fire. I know
exactly.
It's a bit comfier in Cornwall right now.
My children want to go to Norway next year, they've said.
Do they?
Too hot. Well, coming up next, we've got lots more coming up on Britain's Newsroom. But up next, the Conservatives are demanding emergency laws to block sex offenders walking free from prison early. We'll have all the details on that.
This is a major story looking at HMP. One's working on screens right now. We saw plenty of prisoners leaving there early in September 2 years ago. What's going to happen next month and thereafter? This is Britain's Newsroom, only on GB News. See you shortly.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Damp and overcast across more northwestern areas this morning. Should brighten up this afternoon. It's going to be a very hot day across more southern and eastern areas. High pressures dominating across these areas, so a bright and sunny start. Further north, the rain should slowly start to ease as we head towards lunchtime and into this afternoon. But then there's a risk of the odd heavy, possibly thundery downpour across parts of Scotland in particular. Quite windy as well across the very far north of Scotland, so there will be a fresher feel here, temperatures in the high teens. Further south though, closer to 30 degrees, possibly highs of 31 degrees across far south and eastern areas of England. So a pretty dry end to the day across the south, a relatively dry end to the day further north, particularly across more eastern areas of Scotland, but rain will continue to linger across more western areas of Scotland, and the breeze remains relatively strong as well. A lot of cloud across parts of Northern Ireland, Northern England, perhaps some drizzly rain across the higher ground and some coastal areas towards Wales as well as the Pennines. But further south across the Midlands and southern areas of England, it should be a dry and clear night. We could see some mist and fog developing here and there, particularly across more central areas of the UK, and low pressure's never too far away overnight, so rain will continue to push in across parts of the far northwest. So it remains cloudy and damp for more northwestern areas, clear and dry further south. So it will be another very warm night, temperatures holding up above 20 degrees, possibly for some of us to start the day on Wednesday, which makes for another very hot day on Wednesday. Temperatures are likely to climb towards the mid-30s in the south and east, so a very hot day indeed, likely the hottest day of this week before it cools down for the weekend. Meanwhile, across the north, another pretty damp day, potentially some thundery downpours and temperatures closer to the low 20s and high teens. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific two-part Great British giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash. And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans? Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account. You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It's 11 o'clock on Tuesday, the 28th of July. We are live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Charlie Peters and Miriam Cates.
Now, trades over grades. The Prime Minister has told schools to prioritise technical education as he tries to tackle youth unemployment.
It would be wrong to blame the young people when we have an education system that doesn't set them up properly, where some struggle to find opportunities at 16, where work experience and work placements aren't there for them.
We are very concerned that at least 6,500 rapists, killers and paedophiles, that's the minimum number, could be released by the 2nd of September.
Yes, the Conservatives are demanding emergency laws to block sex offenders walking free from prison early. Well, abuse survivor Jade Belgrove told GB News earlier that she wants the Prime Minister to act now.
Pray and plead that he will do the right thing, to be honest. It is completely a matter of right and wrong.
And so I please the police are investigating. Ultimately, it's up to them how far they take this.
This is quite something, isn't it? The Green Party leader, Zach Polansky, he's been referred to the Metropolitan Police for sharing an image of a man wearing a T-shirt with a guillotine graphic alongside the caption, "We're only making plans for Nigel." The force has said that they have been looking into it.
And Europe burns. France and Spain are braced for new heat waves as deadly wildfires close in on Bordeaux.
I'm pleased to have kind of made a start where hopefully I've connected with people.
And is this the Burnham bounce? A new poll puts Labour ahead of Reform for the first time in more than a year.
Bit of a blunder from Zach Polanski yesterday, Charlie, posting, or I think he was tagged in a post with a
He
man.
accepted the
He accepted the collaboration. He claims there are many photos in this post and he didn't notice the text, the image on this chap's T-shirt, but nevertheless pretty threatening. Took it down straight away, but now Reform have referred the matter to the police. Think that's a wise move?
Well, I wonder if you'd call it a blunder if it was a right-wing politician sharing an image of a potential execution of a left-wing politician. I think you wouldn't use that language. I think you'd say something way more than just a blunder. I think we should probably apply the same principle here. It's really bad stuff, this. I mean, what do they think they're doing at this time? I mean, the man wearing the T-shirt in the first place, what on earth are you doing? I understand you can have political humour and it's not a serious threat to life, but in the current atmosphere and environment that we're in, it's not a smart thing to do.
And I think the problem is humour doesn't really work on social media, does it? A joke you might have with somebody down the pub in private.
For years. I mean, it's not very funny on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, I sometimes have tried to have a joke on Twitter and it has backfired almost every time, so I can say that from experience. But it doesn't work on social media, and I think people are waking up to that and trying to be very cautious, although not in Zach Polanski's case.
We've also got some extraordinary footage to bring you in just a moment. You'll want to stay tuned for this one. The Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, he's out in the English Channel today. I think he's small boat spotting again. It's one of his favourite hobbies, it seems. But a French warship has opened fire very close to his ship. He claims that he wasn't warned about it. The ship that he's with said they didn't hear it on the radio, on the net, before they started firing. It really is remarkable footage. We'll bring that to you very shortly indeed.
Well, do keep getting in touch with us, gbnews.com/your say. But before we move on, here are the headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good morning from the newsroom. 3 minutes past 11. The top story. Andy Burnham says he is on a mission to cut the number of young people out of work and education, but refused to set a deadline today. More than 1 million 16 to 24-year-olds are now not in education, employment or training. That is the highest level in more than 12 years. The Prime Minister says the education system has been built for too long around the university route, leaving some young people feeling like second-class citizens. In an announcement today, Andy Burnham said that from 2028, Year 10 pupils will be able to combine English and maths with technical routes linked to local jobs, but school leaders say they still need more details. Well, earlier this morning, Andy Burnham said that Britain has for too long spent university as the only respected route.
The evidence is where countries have an education system based on that principle of parity, Germany or the Netherlands, they have far fewer young people who end up not in education, employment or training. And I think it's long overdue that Britain makes this change. And in England particularly, we build an education system that has a path at 14 for all young people, and we strengthen that offer on technical education.
Also this morning, Kemi Badenoch has called on Andy Burnham to bring in emergency legislation to block hundreds of prisoners being released early. It follows a warning from grooming survivors who say the answer to overcrowded jails must not be the release of serious sexual and violent offenders. The scheme was designed to ease severe prison overcrowding, with around 700 prisoners due to be freed in the first phase from this September. Mr Burnham paused the plan last week and ordered an urgent review. Labour claims it's fixing a prison system that was left on the brink of collapse by the Conservative government. But solicitor Amy Clowry is urging Andy Burnham to stand with victims.
This is just another downgrade of survivors' rights, and Andy Burnham needs to take urgent action to make sure that perpetrators of serious sexual offences and violent offences are not released early under this new scheme.
Firefighters are racing to control major wildfires near Bordeaux and Madrid today as another intense heatwave is threatening to make the crisis even worse. More than 300,000 people have now been evacuated across France and Spain in recent days. In southwest France, crews west of Bordeaux say the fire has stabilised but is still not under control. We're also hearing reports that another firefighter has sadly died in the line of duty. A 38-year-old died in France, the Interior Ministry confirming in the last few minutes. So residents have described thick smoke hanging over Bordeaux and being difficult to breathe. In Spain, crews are also battling major fires near Madrid, where temperatures are expected to climb to 39 degrees. With no rain forecast, though, until at least Friday, officials are warning the coming days could be critical in stopping the flames from spreading even further. Reform UK has reported Green Party leader Zach Polanski to the police after he shared an Instagram post showing a man wearing a top with a guillotine and the name Nigel. The image appeared in a series of pictures from a Green Party event, which Mr Polanski had accepted as a collaboration post on the platform. Nigel Farage criticised him on X, saying if he had posted something as insightful, he would be expected to be arrested. The Green Party says that Mr Polanski removed the post immediately and does not support what it called a dangerous message. And a small boost for shoppers. Shop price inflation has slowed, helped by summer deals and retailers clearing their seasonal stock. Prices are now 0.9% higher than a year ago, with retailers offering summer promotions on food, clothing and footwear. Food price inflation also eased slightly, although fresh food prices rose more quickly than the month before. Retailers are warning that cost pressures remain, though, with higher employment costs, packaging taxes, global instability and climate disruption all making it more expensive to get products onto the shelves. Those are the latest headlines for now. More news in half an hour. Next, though, a quick look at the markets.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
8 minutes past 11, the markets for you. The pound will buy $1.3281 and €1.1694. The price of gold is at £3,029, that's per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is currently trading 10,838 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Charlie Peters and Miriam Cates.
Now, French police have fired what's said to be 17 shots near the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, while he was monitoring illegal Channel small boat, or increasingly big boat, crossings. He's just posted this video on X, formerly Twitter. Let's have a watch.
That anyone who did cross the Channel and arrive in Dover could be immediately deported within around about a week.
Give that a second, he's just dragging a line by the look of it.
Is that a warning shot towards us? I don't know.
That's what I was trying to work out.
Okay.
As far as I know, if you're having a live firing exercise, then that's always announced on the VHF to all the vessels in the vicinity, and they actually will give the position of where that's going to take place. And I didn't hear there's been nothing announced on the VHF from what we've heard this morning. We've been out since 6 o'clock.
Yeah. So it sounds like it might have been an effort to intimidate us.
It could well have been. It might have just been a little bit of a warning shot and maybe just trying a bit of show of force or something.
Interesting. Concerning a show of force against the Shadow Home Secretary.
Well, I mean, he looks like he was ready for it, I suppose. Duck back into his armoured vessel. But it's weird, isn't it? I mean, they're very close to that ship as well.
Yeah.
And the captain there saying he hadn't heard it on the very high-frequency radio, warning that this might be taking place. I mean, just a month ago, we were talking about a Russian vessel firing in the Channel. It's all the rage at the moment.
Yeah, it's becoming a lawless stretch of water.
Well, it has been for a long time, as we know, unfortunately. But Chris Philp there being fired. We said fired upon. I'd say he's been
warned.
You know, shots were fired in the presence of Chris Philp. But I mean, it's pretty sneaky stuff. I wonder what's going on there. I'm sure we'll get more information from the French Navy later.
Do you think it classes as a diplomatic incident?
It could soon be so, depending on what they say.
Well, let's move back to British politics now. Labour have overtaken Reform UK for the first time in more than a year. This is in a leading opinion poll after Andy Burnham's first week as Prime Minister.
Yes, this More in Common poll found that 28% of the public would vote for Labour if a general election were held tomorrow, while Reform has dropped just below that number to 24%.
Well, Sophie Sowers from More in Common joins us now. Sophie, good morning. Thank you so much for coming on Britain's Newsroom. Quite a landmark poll. Reform have been in the lead for a long time. Labour now edging ahead of them. What do you attribute that rise to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the first time that Labour has been ahead in our tracker since March 2025. It's the highest performance since November of that year as well, so certainly a big development. I mean, I think what it shows is that Andy Burnham, in his first week as Prime Minister, has a lot of momentum behind him. We've seen him making lots of policy announcements, lots of media appearances, and we've seen in our focus groups and in our polling that people are quite optimistic about this sort of new premiership, and they're at least willing to give Andy Burnham a hearing. You know, they're willing to hear him out and see what he's got to say, which is really crucial, I think, in your first few weeks of kind of a new administration, so to speak. And certainly he seems to be getting some cut through. But I also think, actually, if you look at some of kind of the flagship policies, so things like the energy bills, VAT on energy bills, like bus fares, it really taps into just how important the cost of living is for many people. And even though in our focus groups there's been maybe some scepticism about the extent of kind of impact to their cost of living these changes will make, for many they see it as almost a signal that at least the Prime Minister is hearing them, is hearing that 59% of them want the cost of living to be a priority for his government at least. And so I think it shows some reflection of engagement with the Prime Minister's kind of policy announcements, because they really do tap into that importance.
And Sophie, how much of this finding also refers to just the deep unpopularity of Sir Keir Starmer, that there is some sense of relief, perhaps, from voters that they're seeing a Labour Party without Keir Starmer at the top? I mean, the top of this hour in our headlines, I was just thinking to myself, what a relief it is not to hear his voice. I mean, I had no strong view on the man, really, that I'd like to share here, but his voice was difficult to listen to. He was really unpopular. How much of him being gone is now, do you think, playing a part in that bounce that we're seeing?
Well, I mean, I think we know that the Starmer ban was really sort of toxic towards the end. I mean, just as an example, in our favourability tracker, I think last week we had Andy Burnham on +13, which doesn't maybe sound, you know, massive, but actually Keir Starmer was in the -40s by the end of his premiership. So that kind of signals kind of how ready I think people were for a change. And I think what really comes across is people are willing to sort of give Burnham a fresh start. That 70% of people are willing to kind of evaluate his government based on just what he does and not what the previous kind of government under Keir Starmer did. So they're very willing to see this as a reset.
And Sophie, do you think the Reform Party should be worried? The pollster Lord Ashcroft has been taking soundings in Nigel Farage's constituency of Clacton, and a number of people telling him there that they don't understand why Nigel Farage called the election, that they're worried that they're being used as pawns in a game. Should he be worried about his leadership ratings?
Yeah, I mean, look, as much as this poll kind of reflects, you know, some boost in popularity for Andy Burnham, I think also it reflects that Reform are going through a challenging time. I think what we see in our data is that actually so much of kind of the appeal of Reform of Nigel Farage is that, you know, they're outsiders, they're not like the rest, they're different. And I think the calling of the by-election, you know, the donation saga has cut through, and it has made some of those people who, you know, maybe didn't vote Reform in 2024 but are open to it and considering it now. It's kind of made them back off a little bit. It's made them a little bit unsure. You know, it's kind of taken the shine off Reform as a potential alternative away. And so I think that has cut through. And I think that's really difficult for Reform because so much of their success really does count now on appealing to those voters who would never have maybe considered voting for the party just a few years ago. You know, if they want to be the main party on the right, they have to have that appeal of something new, different, outside the mainstream. And maybe that has impacted that reputation a little bit.
Sophie, Andy Burnham has made a bold bet by pledging to reduce the cost of living. That is something that is, for the most part, actually out of his hands. It's subject to international events and, as we've all seen, the issue with the war in the Middle East and other such crises will have a major impact on energy costs and similar policies. How much time will he have to deliver on some of these promises and proposals that he's put forward until we start to see voters perhaps turn away amid this bounce? Has he got a month, 2, 3?
So on some things, so things like NHS waiting times, energy bills, small boats, they say by this time next year, a majority say, I should say by this time next year, of the public that they want to see some tangible action on that. But for something like the cost of living, the actual timeline is shorter. It's about 6 months. So, you know, not a lot of time to actually really make headway on this issue that people have been saying has been their priority since even before the 2024 general election. I think something to bear in mind is that, you know, it's not that voters are impatient necessarily, or they think that this is a really easy thing to get a grip on. As you said, there's obviously international factors which complicate things, which they're very aware of. But I think there is a sense of frustration of, for many, they felt like they've been telling the government that, you know, the cost of living, being able to put food on the table for families and that not have to be a choice between putting the heating on or compromising on, you know, going out with friends, those little luxuries. They feel like they've been trying to say that to the government for the last few years, and they've just not been getting listened to. And so I think really they're really hoping that, you know, these initial announcements from Andy Burnham are at least a signal that he is engaging with their concerns and their worries, but still he has only got a matter of a few months to show them that he's made headway and he's made tangible progress on it.
Sophie Sowers from More in Common, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Interesting situation, Charlie. Still no party breaking the 30% boundary. If you go back just 10 or 15 years, the Conservatives and Labour were both always on 40% each. How times have changed.
Yeah, what a shift. And it's 17 minutes past 11, which means it's time now for the Great British Giveaway. It's your chance to win 60 grand in tax-free cash and a gold bar worth over £5,000. Here are all the details that you need.
It's the Great British Giveaway Golden Summer Celebration. Your chance to win 2 fantastic prizes. There's an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash that can make your bank account brilliant. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny. Plus, you'll also get your hands on a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. You could give that to your children, your grandchildren, or just invest it for the future. What would you do with it? Just make sure you don't miss your chance to win £60,000 cash and a fine gold bar. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up next on Britain's Newsroom, you won't believe the reason why a drug dealer was not deported to Albania. We'll be filling you in on that.
We'll also be going through plenty of other stories and more with Dr. Renee Hunderkamp and Kevin Maguire sitting there on the sofas. They'll be over here sparring shortly. You're watching Britain's Newsroom, only on GB News.
the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. You're watching Britain's Newsroom live across the United Kingdom with Charlie Peters and Miriam Cates.
Well, we're joined now in the studio by our panel, the political commentator and GP Dr Renee Honderkamp and journalist Kevin Maguire in the studio. Shall we start with Zach Polanski? He made a little bit of a social media blunder.
Stop downplaying it. Blunder. It's more than a blunder. He's shared a post.
He has deliberately incited violence against Nigel Farage.
Well,
there you go. Take your pick somewhere along that spectrum. Do you think Reform have done the right thing in referring him to the police?
I don't actually on this. I think it's really offensive because it is, it's the old XTC song, we're making plans for Nigel, and then there's a picture of a fantastic track, and then there's a guillotine, and I find that very offensive in this current period when violence, particularly political violence, seems to be on the up. But he shared 20 pictures from another account on Instagram and clearly hasn't looked at them, or somebody shared them on his behalf. He has to take responsibility for it. The moment it was pointed out, he took it off. Now, it's kind of like a satire, really, that guillotine. I think it's a bad taste satire, and I think they're wasting police time. The last time they went to the police reform, apart from the police coming to them over money, which is a bigger and more pressing problem, was over Rupert Lowe, accusing him of bullying and threats. And it completely backfired on reform, and they've now made an enemy for life in Rupert Lowe, Restore, who seems just intent on destroying them. So now I think the criticism of Zelensky and the image is absolutely entirely right and correct, and I'd agree with it, but I think going to the police is wrong.
Dr Renee, is this more than just a blunder?
No. Well, whether it's more than a blunder or not, we'll never know because we can't get inside Polanski's head. I don't think, however, we should be wasting police time on an image on Twitter. And if we're going to argue that we want the same policing for everybody, and we argue that Lucy Connolly should never have gone to prison, which I have argued vehemently, then we cannot then argue that this should be prosecuted against Zach Polanski. I think we need to see what people are. Let them show us what they are. He is showing us what he is. I think he's vile, and I think he's showing us whether it was a blunder or not because he didn't think about it. So, no, I don't think they should have reported it to the police.
Both Boris Johnson and Donald Trump, it's very hard to get them rattled. Two very successful right-wing politicians of the last decade. You can't spike their cortisol, as the saying goes online these days. They're very easy to laugh at people making threats at them or making language against them. Do you think there is a bit of a sign at the moment, Kevin, that Reform are a bit brittle, a bit quick to react, a bit sharp when someone points some criticism towards them? Boris Johnson would just laugh things off, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I actually think butterflies have, wings are thicker than Donald Trump's skin. But nevertheless, Reform are rattled. They're on the back foot. They've lost their poll lead. They've got a lot of big money.
When Donald Trump was shot in the ear, his reaction was not to cower, but stand up and do this. His reaction to threats is not to say, woe is me, I need the worst protection in the world, which we're seeing a lot from right-wing politicians in Britain. I disagree with you.
No, there was defiance over been shot. He
Defiance
knew
is the
how to
word.
play that, and it was that bit was quite admirable. The number of people he then claimed were behind the shooting was not, and of course he dishes it out verbally all the time. But they are rattled. I understand why they're rattled, but I think it's a sign of weakness that they are rattled, and that's what they're betraying. Their own. It's a lack of confidence. Lack of confidence. They've had a big bubble inflated, and now that bubble, it's not burst, but it's losing air.
But we know what the thought process is from Reform behind this. It's, look, yes, we've got this £5 million bubbling along. I needed it for my security. Here's more proof that I need it for my security. People are calling for my execution.
That's right. That's when he said it wasn't for a Ferrari or betting. But I think it's a distraction away from the money. But it's also this victim complex they are getting, and it'll work with a part of the electorate, part of the population, a significant minority of it, but it won't. It'll alienate a majority.
There are a number of different questions here, though, aren't there, Kevin? So, number one, are politicians at heightened risk of violence? I think we know that is true, certainly in this country, certainly in America. But secondly, how much does discussion on social media feed into that violence? Is it right to say that people posting posts like this or calling for violence or even just calling people nasty names on social media increases the risk of violence, or is that just not true at all?
Well, I don't think we can evidence it. And I think if we look to the states that have such a high bar for incitement, I think we should have the same. Because I've always believed that the moment you suppress people, racist, whatever it is, you then can't debate them. You can't change their mind. We need to see who people are. I don't believe in squashing.
I think it's a mistake that Reform made last year, I think, when the Starmer called them racist, said there was a racist policy they proposed, and the Reform reaction was saying this is putting a target on our backs, this is putting us at serious risk. I think both Trump and Johnson showed how you react to that stuff. Laugh it off.
Look, I've no doubt if a Reform supporter was wearing a T-shirt with a guillotine and were making plans for Zach, the Greens would have jumped on it and
I think far more people would have jumped on it as well.
Yeah, and they would have been legitimate in doing so. But would they have gone to the police? I don't believe they.
Yes, I think
they probably would have. Absolutely.
I don't think they would have gone to the police.
Of course they would. And actually, the left would have been outraged by that. And this is where we need to level the playing field. We need the same reaction for everyone.
Zach Polanski is the only Jewish leader of a mainstream national British party. No, that's part of the anti-Semitism and reducing that. Now, he's suffered terrible anti-Semitism and the caricatures that have been produced of him, which if they were produced of any other prominent Jewish person in British public life, that would have been absolutely condemned.
That just doesn't wash when you look at who he surrounded himself by in his party.
I'm saying two things here. One is there's always double standards in politics and becomes partisan. And the second is we shouldn't get drawn into that, and that's why you have to use the same judgment of each politician and event.
I think
no matter where you come from on the spectrum.
Trevor Phillips has finished his last programme for another channel, hasn't he now? But I think his reaction to when that was said to him by Zach Polanski, I'm the only Jewish leader of a political party, I think Trevor Phillips said, don't try that one on me. That was his reaction.
But it's true. But you can't just dismiss that. Because there has been anti-Semitism against Zach Polanski.
That's what he said, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know, but I think he was wrong on that, and I have a lot of time for Trevor Phillips.
Well, let's say what the Green Party spokesman has said about this recent issue with the guillotine T-shirt. After attending a public event, Zach accepted a request to collaborate on a post with several images. Once this image was brought to his attention, he immediately unshared the post. He unequivocally does not support this type of dangerous message. Right, what are we going to discuss now, Miriam?
What should we go for? Children at phone-banned schools are happier and better behaved. You won't believe this, but I just saw that. I didn't choose it on purpose. But obviously, this is
we never knew that would happen.
A topic close to my heart. It's pretty obvious, though, isn't it? I mean, you take away a major distraction, and suddenly the children are more focused, better behaved, and less
concentrate, and they're not looking for a dopamine hit every 10 seconds. They're not bullying people. They're not showing other children porn in the playground. You know, this is something we have to do across the board. I don't even think they should be in schools. I think no phones.
And this is the North London borough of Barnet, which was a bit of ahead of some areas. But it's interesting, the schools in Barnet, some you can't take in a phone. Some you can only take in a brick phone that can't go on the internet. Others you can take in a...
Lock it in a pouch.
Yeah, in a pouch. And I think that's right. There's lots of different solutions. But there must be very few schools now that just allow kids to take their phone in and wave it around.
Well, no. There are lots of schools that have in theory, a policy where you can't get the phone out during the day. But obviously, if it's in your bag, if it's in your pocket, it's very easy for a child to hide it in a book, behind a laptop. The biggest obstacle, though, to this policy is parents. And lots of schools, lots of teachers now who are fully convinced that mobile phones in the classroom are a terrible idea. But lots of parents saying, my child needs a phone, they need to be able to contact me, they need it on their way to school. I mean, how do you combat that,
So you give them a brick phone that has no access to the internet, and then they can contact their child if they really feel that way. We didn't have phones. We made it to school and back every day. You know, I don't believe the world is any more dangerous. I think we need to have confidence in our children, let them take risks, and let them start being, you know, growing up in the way that children should.
I think you just say no. I think a school has to say no, like during school hours, certainly during lessons, no. Why do you really need to contact your kid or your kid, if there are very special circumstances, you know
phone the school office.
Nana's about to die. You can deal with that, but day in, day out, no.
When I was a child,
too many parents are anxious.
And I wanted to escape the dreary offering from daytime television. This is a time before GB News was available.
When there were only 3 channels.
My phone and my laptop were an escape and an opportunity.
But not during the school day.
Well, actually, often it was. Anyway,
hang on. You were watching daytime TV at school.
Sam Francis is waiting very patiently for his 60
I want to hear about
update.
this.
Miriam Cates will have to wait. Sam, take it away.
Thank you both. Good morning to you. 11:32. The headlines this hour. Andy Burnham says he's on a mission to cut the number of young people out of work and education, but refused to set a deadline. The Prime Minister made that pledge this morning as he unveiled new technical education routes for 14-year-olds, aimed at giving pupils a clearer path from school into work. Kemi Badenoch is calling on the Prime Minister to bring in emergency legislation to block hundreds of prisoners being released early. It follows a warning from grooming survivors who say the answer to overcrowded jails must not be the release of serious sexual and violent offenders. A race is underway to control major wildfires near Bordeaux and Madrid before another intense heatwave makes the crisis worse. More than 300,000 people have been evacuated so far across France and Spain, with temperatures expected to reach 39 degrees this week. Here, police are conducting inquiries after Reform UK reported Zach Polanski over an image shared on his Instagram. The picture showed a man wearing a T-shirt with a guillotine and the name Nigel. The Green Party says that Mr Polanski immediately unshared the post once it was brought to his attention. But Conservatives' Kieran Mullen claims that the Greens have a track record of inappropriate posts.
There's just this horrible mess of stuff that's coming out of the Green Party, and Zach Polanski is just adding to that.
And cold case detectives are making a final push for answers in the disappearance of Susie Lamplugh, 40 years after she vanished in West London. The 25-year-old left her office for an appointment with a mysterious Mr Kipper in 1986, but never returned. Those are the latest headlines for now. A full roundup with the news at 12.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Well, coming up on GB News at noon, we've got Good Afternoon Britain with Mark and Emily. They're here in the studio. What's coming up on your show?
Well, intriguingly, we're going to try to get to the bottom of what on earth has happened with Chris Philp.
Going to war with the French.
Well, apparently he's accusing them potentially of intimidating tactics with warning shots that were, they think, fired while they were in the middle of an interview. They're out in the channel at the moment looking for migrants trying to cross the channel illegally. No migrants so far that they've found, but they have found the French.
He does quite a lot of this sort of on-the-boots roving journalism, doesn't he? He was on a street in, oh gosh, where is it?
He was in Whitechapel,
was it Brick Lane?
Yeah.
Was it Brick Lane? Somewhere like that, where a lot of the shops have skilled worker visas. They could sponsor skilled worker visas, even though they're called things like UK Mobile Fix or something like this.
I think it's been inspired by the Robert Jenrick success.
Yes,
well, exactly. Yeah. It's a poor imitation, I think.
But do you think the French would actually try to intimidate?
Perhaps wouldn't it be better if they tried to intimidate the migrant base?
That's a very good point, Miriam.
Exactly. That's where you need to be firing warning shots at. Listen, it's a strange one because normally you would expect a radio message from the French to say you're too close to our vessel, move back. and then would come potentially warning shots, but there seems to have been a whole series of shots that have been fired. So we'll try and get to the bottom of it.
I think they were a bit worried.
Mark, the sort of training exercises in the Channel by the French. Do you know how often are they firing?
Well, I mean, these are just patrol ships that are used to escort migrant boats to and
they don't fire anything.
So actually, they never. Yeah. From what I've seen, I've never seen them on live gunnery exercises.
Very cool.
And not so close to another vessel either, and not without giving them a warning.
Maybe they thought Chris Philp was a Russian.
It does have a unique physiognomy, particularly in the cheekbones.
Shall we move on? I think you're watching too much daytime TV as a child, Charlie.
I don't know about that. Right. Well, we look forward to hearing from Mark and Emily and all their theories about why Chris Philp was facing intimidation from a French vessel. It's quite serious stuff, that I know.
It is.
People, but what on earth
I
is
know,
going
what
on?
were they doing? Who did they think he was? Good question. Well, that's coming up at midday, but up next on Britain's Newsroom, the Conservatives demand emergency laws to block sex offenders walking free from prison early. But will the Prime Minister take any notice?
This is Britain's Newsroom, only on GB News. See you in a tick.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be hotting up over the next couple of days. Plenty of sunshine across the south, though often a bit cloudier with some showers further north. And we'll see this north-south split in the weather over the next few days. Areas of low pressure swinging in towards the northwest, though high pressure still very much dominating the south. Now, it's quite a wet start across Scotland this morning. Most of that rain has cleared away, but we've still got this band of showery rain just clipping parts of Northern Ireland and southwest Scotland. To the south of this, plenty of clouds across northern areas of England and Wales. Quite a cloudy afternoon, the odd spot of rain, but further south, very dry, lots of sunshine and feeling a lot hotter than what it was yesterday. Temperatures just about pushing into the low 30s across much of the southeast. Then to finish off the day across Scotland, still quite a lot of cloud around, and this band of showers will continue to push up from the southwest, turning quite heavy at times across the hills, and still some showers lingering towards the north and west of Northern Ireland. Quite a cloudy day still across northern parts of England, northwest Wales, still the odd light shower possible, but across much of south and southeast England remaining dry with clear skies, and it will remain that way through the course of the night. Temperatures will dip away, but actually for most it's going to be quite a mild and muggy night, even some mist and fog developing across southwest England, southern parts of Wales, and the showers will continue to move their way across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and southern areas of Scotland as well. For most, though, it's a mainly dry night, still quite warm and muggy in the south and southeast. Now, Wednesday is an even hotter day to come across much of the southeast. Lots of sunshine here, but across Northern Ireland, Scotland, it's a cooler day, and we've still got this continuous cloudy skies and these outbreaks of rain just pushing into the far northwest here. So once again, still that north-south split in the weather, with highs reaching around 35 degrees in the southeast, been towards the low 20s across the north.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 20 to 12. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Charlie Peters and Miriam Cates.
Now, moving on, Charlie Peets. Might be a new one, I'm not sure about that. Well, the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, she's calling on Andy Burnham to bring in emergency legislation to block hundreds of prisoners being released. It's actually 6,000 who could potentially be released early, but hundreds of sexual offenders. Here's what she had to say.
We are very concerned that at least 6,500 rapists, killers and paedophiles, that's the minimum number, could be released by the 2nd of September.
Grooming survivors are urging the new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, to stand with victims as he reviews plans to release thousands of prisoners early.
Well, let's speak now with Claire Adams. She supports survivors of child sexual exploitation as a campaigner. Claire, thanks very much for joining us this morning. What do you make then of this Conservative press conference? And there's very brave women speaking today. Surely they've got to be heard.
Absolutely, and good morning. I met with these ladies and with Kemi on the 7th of July, only a few weeks ago, and we spoke extensively about the early release scheme. And every single one of the victims, survivors, advocates and their family members said the same thing. Why do we not mean enough? And that's been proven 2 weeks later, maybe 2 to 3 weeks later, when Andy Burnham came out and suggested that PC Harper's family would probably come before the victims and survivors. And it's always the case that they're always put into the rear end, the back end of the forts of our governance. And I find it really unfair that these victims and survivors have been let down for so many years. And yet again, when the opportunity is given to this Labour government, they decide to forget about them.
Claire, it must be an absolute nightmare for these women to have been told, first of all, that their abusers may be released. Now that that's on hold, obviously living in hope that the government will change its mind. We understand that new legislation would actually be needed to stop the releases taking place from the 2nd of September. Would you support that legislation, even if Parliament has to be recalled early?
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke to Dr. Kieran Mullen quite extensively on the 7th of July. And he said, whilst they're all on recess, they'll be working really hard in the background. And this was fully supported cross-party when we actually watched the debate with Jake Richard at the time. And I saw all parties, bar Labour, maybe 2 or 3 Labour politicians, who are actually supporting this. Now, as far as I'm concerned, if they can put in such quick legislation for a football game, then why do they not have the political will for something so serious? These offenders are the most offenders in the UK right now. Paedophiles, rapists and murderers.
Claire,
I just don't understand.
Yeah, Claire, it often seems that when these major announcements are taking place, they often get overwhelmed by other news. It's a really annoying situation that keeps happening. When the ICSA report, the inquiry into abuse, came out in 2022, it was the same day that Liz Truss resigned. And earlier this month, when there was this day in Parliament that you're referring to, when loads of survivors travelled down to raise this issue of early release, it was that Nigel Farage made a major announcement about his political future. So we're seeing these moments when perhaps this debate is just not being heard. And it's a shame, isn't it, that often this issue seems to drop down the pecking order of the news agenda, the political agenda. Right now, it should be the absolute top priority. So many victims around the country, many of whom have not spoken up and waived their right to anonymity, are living in absolute terror about what is coming just a month away.
Yeah, it always seems like the political will is never there for these victims. Right now, I'm dealing with victims who are being bullied, chastised in their own homes. I'm having to move victims into different housing. We have safeguard measures in place right now. Currently, alarm bells. West Yorkshire Police have been fantastic with a few of the victims. We have victims in hiding because not only are their perpetrators being released, but they've also got the family members who will be angry that they possibly might not be released. So we've got this added layer of protection that we have to put around the victims. And all the while, people are sat in government choosing other priorities, and I find it so unfair and it's disingenuous.
Claire, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. That's Claire Adams, who supports survivors of child sexual exploitation. Charlie, it's absolutely right, as you were saying, that we focus on the victims and their experience and what they're going through right now. But there's also a question of public safety. These men being released early before they've served their full term, well before they've served their full term. What does that mean for the safety of the public?
The government is saying, look, we've got a licensing and tagging period and that they've stepped that up and more prisoners are being tagged and monitored. I'll be blunt, I don't trust that system. I don't think it's good enough. I think most victims don't trust it either. There was an investigation done by Channel 4 actually last year showing how easy it is to get around those tags. How often they don't work. The people applying them aren't focusing it properly. The Ministry of Justice came back saying, you know, that they were putting in a really robust system at the time. But look, bottom line up front, it's not good enough. And do you know what works and keeps people safe? Prison.
Them up. Indeed, that's what it's there for.
Works. There we go.
Well, let's see what Andy Burnham does about that. But one thing he is talking about is education, a move perhaps to more vocational education. So we're asking tradies, do you feel valued by the government? Do you think the Prime Minister is right in saying that trades should be valued over grades?
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast from the top European destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, you're heading away for the summer holidays. Well, it's turning very hot across parts of France and Spain. High pressure dominates across Europe, bringing plenty of dry weather. Very warm across the Canary Islands as well as towards Madeira. Coastal areas of Portugal and Spain will be cooler, and temperatures in the high 20s, low 30s. Towards Italy, though, as well as Greece, very hot indeed. There is a risk of thunderstorms as well across the Alps, but it does remain fine, dry and warm into the weekend as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Let's talk now to showbiz journalist Nelson Aspen and former US House Advisor Lee Cohen about this conversation. Good evening, gentlemen. Nelson, let me start with you. What has Oprah been criticised for here? Because a lot of people have taken a shot at her watching this interaction.
That's right. Oprah is worth well over $3 billion. She does not need to present a retrospective of her greatest moments, but she is obviously desperate to stay relevant. And in this 1.5 hour special, the Harry and Meghan interview comes in at about 15 minutes. And it was obvious that she needs to backpedal. It is obvious that it was the greatest softball display of favoritism in broadcast history, almost.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Temperatures are set to soar again next week as heat health alerts remain in place across large parts of England. So my favourite meteorologist to talk to ever in life is John Ketley. John, good to see you. Looking very suntanned and gorgeous, it has to be said, in matching pink. John, we've got another heat wave on the way.
Surprise, surprise.
Hey, it's summer.
Yeah, it seems to have been a very prolonged summer this year, didn't it? Obviously, it started early. We started with that very hot weather in May, which is unusual. And then we had further hot weather during June and again in July as well. So it seems a little bit different this year. It's been going on for so long. It's almost as if we've been really, the tentacles of Europe have been extending across the UK, and we've turned into a continental regime, really.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's just a fact of life. You know, I'm of the generation, my grandfathers and great uncles all fought in World War II, but my children, you know, that's not a memory for them. They never met anyone who was in the Holocaust, and we have short memories. We're the TikTok generation. We have, you know, 5 seconds worth of attention we put on anything. So I think it's a good step. UNESCO has had some scandals in the past, or at least they've chosen to recognize things that perhaps I don't think are all that significant, but the D-Day beaches I visited myself a few years back, they're very well preserved, by the way, so I'm not sure how much this adds in terms of resources or what it can really do to increase young people's knowledge of history, but it can't be a bad thing, can it?
I mean, it's an amazing story all around, and it's a story that deserves to be told over and over and over again.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's 10 to 9. 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 10 to 9
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. Now, our new Prime Minister is set to unveil new technical education pathways as he argues that a generation of young people have been let down by the current system.
Yes, Andy Burnham has said that the long-standing push to send half of school leavers to university under Sir Tony Blair has let down a generation.
Well, GB News' Deputy Political Editor Tom Harwood joins us now from central London. Tom, in many ways, this announcement is a furthering of the pilot scheme that's been going on in Manchester for a couple of years. The Manchester Baccalaureate has been called under Andy Burnham's Manchester. Do you think this will be welcomed by the education sector?
I mean, it's not particularly new, as you say. In Manchester, something very similar has been happening, and under the previous Conservative government, started under Boris Johnson, T levels were introduced for people over the age of 16, aiming to create a sort of parity between A levels and more vocational education. Clearly, though, Andy Burnham wants to take it further by having a route for people much younger than those who would be doing T-levels. This is about 14-year-olds and up, being able to choose more technical subjects alongside those traditional core subjects like maths and English. Here's how Andy Burnham announced it on TikTok.
You go in an office where you've got people in offices, they won't talk to you, they walk straight past you. But if you go in there with a normal person, like university or someone that's actually got a proper qualification, they're all, hi, how are you, what are you doing, and help you. We don't get no help.
Unfortunately, we're all self-employed, so we're taken on and then laid off when they don't need us. So it's all right, everyone having tickets to be in construction, but it's not a full-time job. We're looked down on, really, but just because they've got an education don't mean they're smart.
I feel like construction is generally something that you're told you fall back on, that if you don't do well in school, you end up in this sort of job.
Well, apologies, that clearly wasn't Andy Burnham announcing the policy. That's what some people might think of it. What do you think? It's clearly going to divide some opinion, but ultimately it's giving more opportunity for more options for people at that early stage in school.
Thank you very much, Tom Harwood, and that's all from us here this morning at Britain's Newsroom. We'll be back again tomorrow.
We will indeed, but coming up next, Good Afternoon Britain with Mark and Emily.
Well, what on earth have the French been up to in the Channel? It appears our shadow Home Secretary may have had warning shots fired towards him from a French warship.
Yeah, slightly concerning. I'm not sure. I'm not surprised he felt intimidated. We'll find out exactly what went on there. And also, Andy Burnham, he's finally broken his silence, well, been forced to break his silence on the whole illegal migration issue. I've got an inkling that it's not his top issue of interest. That's just my thoughts.
I think you may well be right on that. All that
not
coming
that bothered.
Up after the break.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Damp and overcast across more northwestern areas this morning. Should brighten up this afternoon. It's going to be a very hot day across more southern and eastern areas. High pressures dominating across these areas, so a bright and sunny start. Further north, the rain should slowly start to ease as we head towards lunchtime and into this afternoon. But then there's a risk of the odd heavy, possibly thundery downpour across parts of Scotland in particular. Quite windy as well across the very far north of Scotland. So there will be a fresher feel here, temperatures in the high teens. Further south, though, closer to 30 degrees, possibly highs of 31 degrees across far south and eastern areas of England. So a pretty dry end to the day across the south, a relatively dry end to the day further north, particularly across more eastern areas of Scotland. But rain will continue to linger across more western areas of Scotland, and the breeze remains relatively strong as well. A lot of cloud across parts of Northern Ireland, Northern England, perhaps some drizzly rain across the higher ground and some coastal areas towards Wales as well as the Pennines. But further south across the Midlands and southern areas of England, it should be a dry and clear night. We could see some mist and fog developing here and there, particularly across more central areas of the UK. And low pressure's never too far away overnight, so rain will continue to push in across parts of the far northwest. So it remains cloudy and damp for more northwestern areas. clear and dry further south. So it will be another very warm night. Temperatures holding up above 20 degrees, possibly for some of us to start the day on Wednesday, which makes for another very hot day on Wednesday. Temperatures are likely to climb towards the mid-30s in the south and east. So a very hot day indeed, likely the hottest day of this week before it cools down for the weekend. Meanwhile, across the north, another pretty damp day, potentially some thundery downpours and temperatures closer to the low 20s and high teens. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the Great British Giveaway Golden Summer Celebration. Your chance to win 2 fantastic prizes. There's an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also get your hands on a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.